welcome to Battle Network Academy. For the next couple videos, I'm going to be going over the Double Soul system from Battle Network 4 and 5, and how they work and what they do. For a brief explanation on how Double Soul functions, to activate a Double Soul, you first need to sacrifice a specific elemental chip. This chip will be consumed, and in its place, you'll get the corresponding soul for 3 turns. Once the 3 turns are up, you will drop back to base Mega Man. Unlike the crosses in Battle Network 6, you cannot be forced out of a soul with an elemental attack that you're weak to. You only lose a soul once your 3 turns are up, or if you switch to a different soul. Keep in mind, however, you can only use a soul once per round, so switching between souls willy-nilly can put you at a disadvantage. In this video, I will be going over the Double Souls from Battle Network 4, Red Sun, starting with Gut Soul. Activating Gut Soul requires the sacrifice of a ground element chip. The soul itself is null element, so you'll have no weaknesses to elemental attacks. On top of this, you also gain a plus 30 to all null and ground chips. And rapidly hitting your B button will fire Guts Machine Gun. Guts Machine Gun will temporarily make you invincible while you're firing, and the attack will shoot 6 times, dealing 5 null damage each. Gut Soul will change your charge shot to Guts Punch. Guts Punch hits a single panel in front of Mega Man, dealing 60 null damage, and is able to push objects as well as break through shields. And this attack takes 90 frames, or a second and a half, to charge. Next up we have Fire Soul. Activating Fire Soul requires the sacrifice of a fire chip. This soul is fire element, and is weak to aqua attacks. On the start of your first turn in this soul, grass panels will spawn in a double plus shape on the field. You can also absorb lava panels to recover 50 HP. While in Fire Soul, you can chip charge any fire chip to shoot a flamethrower that covers the entire row in front of Mega Man, dealing 150 fire damage. Paired with the grass panels that the soul lays down, can make for some pretty spicy combos. Fire Soul changes your charge shot to Flamethrower. Flamethrower hits 3 panels in front of Mega Man, dealing 50 fire damage. This attack takes 40 frames, or just over half a second to charge. Next up we have Roll Soul. Activating Roll Soul requires the sacrifice of a recovery chip. This soul is also null element, so you won't have to worry about any ×2 elemental attacks. While Roll Soul is active, you will have a chip heal, giving back 10% of your max HP whenever you use any battle chip. Roll Soul changes your charge shot to Roll Arrow. Roll Arrow hits the entire row in front of Mega Man, stopping at the first obstacle or opponent hit, dealing 30 null damage. If your opponent has any chips in their hand when they get hit by a Roll Arrow, their whole hand gets deleted. And this attack takes 50 frames, or just under a second, to charge. Alright, well, moving on. Next up we have Wind Soul. Activating Wind Soul requires the sacrifice of a Wind Chip. Wind Soul is also null element. When Wind Soul is first activated, a North Wind effect covers the stage, removing all auras and barriers from your opponents. While Wind Soul is active, your standard Buster Shot is changed to Air Shot that deals 5 null damage per hit. This attack, like the Air Shot chip, will push your opponent back 1 panel. Also, while Wind Soul is active, there will be a constant fan effect that will pull your opponents towards you, as well as giving you float shoes and air shoes. And on top of that, you also get a plus 10 to all wind chips. Wind Soul changes your charge shot to Wind Rack, hitting a 1x3 area immediately in front of Mega Man, dealing 50 null damage, and pushing back any enemies or obstacles hit. This attack takes 50 frames to charge. Next up we got Thunder Soul. Activating Thunder Soul requires the sacrifice of an Elect chip. This soul is an Elect element and is weak to wood attacks. While Thunder Soul is active, all non-dimming Elect and Null chips will add a paralysis effect. Thunder Soul changes your charge shot to Zappering. This is the same as the chip attack from Battle Network 2 and 3, hitting the entire row in front of Mega Man, and stopping at the first obstacle or opponent hit, dealing 20 Elect damage. This attack takes 80 frames, or just under a second and a half to charge. And last but not least, we have Search Soul. Activating this soul requires the sacrifice of a stealth chip. This soul is null element and has no elemental weaknesses. When first activating this soul, it will remove invis and pop-up effects from your opponents. And while this soul is active, you will get a chip shuffle button on your cust screen, allowing you to shuffle your hand 3 times per turn. Search Soul changes your charge shot to Scope Gun. Scope Gun targets the nearest opponent, firing 5 rapid-fire shots, dealing 10 null damage each. And it also pierces invis. This attack takes 90 frames, or a second and a half to charge. Ooh boy! Battle Network 4 and 5 are a bit of a different beast when it comes to the transformations. 5 goes a bit more off the rails, because the damage scaling doesn't stop at 5, it goes all the way up to Buster level 10. But we'll get to that later. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.